Do you have fond memories of your last acid trip? Then you should read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. And one question before we begin the review. Sawyer, did you enjoy this read?
Yes, I did.
There you have it, folks. Welcome to Whiskey and Literature. I'm your host, Captain Mike, and I'm reading and reviewing 52 books in 52 weeks in 2023. This is my 31st book review of the year so far, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. And I'm excited about this review for two reasons. First of all, I thought the book was pretty good. And second of all, we have a new guest reviewer today. Sawyer, welcome to Whiskey and Literature.
Thank you for having me on.
So, again, when I have these guest reviewers, I thought when I began this channel, that was just going to be kind of me reading books and doing little book reviews. But I feel like I've had a good time when I've had guest reviewers come on.
Yeah.
It's been kind of fun. And also the book thing has turned into a big whiskey thing too. But today it's about the books. It's about Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And okay, so you're my son. So this is the trifecta now. We've had Stephen, Sadie, and Sawyer now. Had all my kids come on, had Laura, Mrs. Captain. She came on and did a book with me. It's been a pretty fun part of the channel. So let's talk about you briefly before we get to the book. Are you a reader?
Kind of, a little bit. Not as much as I'd like to, but a book here and there.
A book here and there, okay. What books do you like to read?
Manga, I read a lot of manga. And then obviously the last book I read was Alice in Wonderland, but
okay.
Yeah.
Did you have to read books in high school?
Not as much as Sadie or Steven, but
okay.
A couple.
I've been surprised as I've been reading these classic books through this year, how many people have read some of the books that I'm reading. They read it in high school. I went to high school in Utah, so we didn't read things like Catcher in the Rye in high school. Last book is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, read manga. Well, let's talk about the book. Oh, and we're in this weird setting here. I flew this morning, got up super early in Florida, flew out here. We're doing this review with you, and then I'm doing Catcher in the Rye and a little bit with Sadie as well. And so we're in this unusual environment running the review today. But let's talk about Lewis Carroll briefly, and then we'll get to the book. Charles Dodson, he was known as Lewis Carroll. He was an English author, and we'll refer to him as Lewis Carroll throughout this review. He was born in 1832 and died of pneumonia in 1898. He was a precocious kid, a prodigious reader, and more than proficient at mathematics. He often wrote poetry and short stories. Okay, now we're gonna sidestep a little bit and just briefly talk about the inspiration for Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. On a golden afternoon, Lewis Carroll and a Reverend Duckworth were on a river rowing in a rowboat with three young girls, sisters, ages 8, 10, and 13. During the trip, Lewis Carroll told the three girls a story, which the middle child, Alice, asked him to write down. And I don't know about you, but alarm bells were going off in my mind when I first read about that incident. And it didn't abate at all when I was reading about some of the controversies surrounding Lewis Carroll's sexuality. If you're interested in that side of the story, feel free to do your own research. That's pretty much all I'm going to say about it, other than the fact that I didn't really lessen my concern about it when I heard that the sister's parents basically cut off the relationship with Lewis Carroll. And that's all that I'm going to say on that matter. So, Lewis Carroll, any thoughts on the author? Have you ever read any of his other stuff?
No, I don't think that I have. In high school, we did read a few books, but I don't know if it was any of Lewis Carroll's.
I don't think I've read anything of his. Any thoughts on the whole controversy surrounding him?
No, I mean, I don't think that really matters to the story as much, as I don't think at least it changes for some people.
I agree. Some people, they can't separate in their mind the artist, whether the author or the musician or something, his personal or private life from the works that they create.
Yeah.
I mean, if you said, think of some of the greatest works of art out there and some paintings. Some of those artists, they led lives of debauchery, if you will,
Yeah.
and questionable doing-ons in their life. So, yeah, and there's nothing really known concrete about Lewis Carroll. It's just when I heard that story and some of the controversy, I just felt kind of weird about it. So,
Yeah.
but okay. Well, moving on anyway to the specs and stats of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. It was first published in 1865, 3 years after Lewis Carroll first told the story to the sisters. And I bought my copy at the Goodwill bookstore for $3, and I thought a great deal. Your copy is a lot smaller than mine, because I think yours just has Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And it just says Alice in Wonderland, but I think that is the original story, and I ordered that for you off Amazon. Mine also has a big introduction, and it has Through the Looking Glass, which is the sequel to Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, which I didn't read. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland is only 104 pages long. And I did listen to approximately half this book or so on Audible as well. It's read for 2 hours and 44 minutes by Scarlett Johansson. So, did you read the book or did you listen to it?
I listened to the first maybe 10 minutes of it and then read the rest of it.
What, you don't like Scarlett Johansson?
Oh, no, I like Scarlett Johansson. Is reading physical copies, I feel, is a lot easier for me to pay attention to the story.
Yeah, I agree. And this was, I'll say, for such a short story, it's fairly complicated. There's a lot of moving pieces in there. And I did listen to probably more than half of it originally. And on the flight out from Florida to Phoenix today, I read the entire book over again. And okay, so my advice to you is if you're going to read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, just sit down and read it. Start it and finish it. Give yourself about 90 minutes to 2 hours. That's all it's gonna take, 104 pages. I don't know, I can do that in 1 hour. I really appreciated the book more after reading it straight through as opposed to before when I was kind of jumping back and forth, and it took me probably 2 weeks to read it because I was reading other things as well. So my advice, open the book, don't put it down till it's done. And I think you'll appreciate it more. When did you finish the book?
I finished it last night.
Last night?
Yep.
Okay. When did you start it?
Yesterday morning.
Oh, so you read it also in one day?
One day, yeah.
No,
it was good to read it all at once because there were a lot of jumping pieces, and instead of breaking it up in pieces, it was all in one.
That's awesome. No, I like that. Some books I think deserve to be read over a long time. You can sit down and do some research and think about it. Like Homer, definitely you shouldn't read in. I read it in 3 days, which sounds pretty short. I mean, that was too short of a time to read Homer. But this one, you should blaze through it and you'll enjoy it better. Okay, briefly about the style of the book. It fits in several genres. I think it's a fantasy book. It's a literary nonsense or absurdism. There is symbolism throughout the entire book, both regarding Lewis's life and the politics of the day. And I really recognized this today as I was flying over here and reading. I really caught quite a few of those puns and the playing with words. I thought it was masterful. Size and relations. That's a theme of the book. As Alice's size grows and shrinks, her relationships with those around her also changes. And we really can't talk about this book, I don't think, without just recognizing what a bunch of nonsense it is. Like, as in a lack of meaningfulness. It's nihilistic in some respects. Think about the Tea Party scene. It's just, they do the same thing every day. And just, that's
at the same time too, because he stopped time at 6. So it was always 6, always tea time.
Always tea time. Have you ever read a book like this?
No, absolutely not.
I guess if you said like literary absurdism, nonsense, I've read some that are kind of like that. I think like Kafka perhaps is like that in the sense that things happen that don't make sense, but maybe they're not nonsense. Okay, did you find this to be an easy read or a difficult read?
I think in some parts it was a little difficult to understand some of the phrases they were saying, but overall it was a pretty easy read.
I would agree with that. As I was reading it, I think is a lot of these are old classic books that I'm reading this year. And there are turns of phrases, things that they say that don't relate to us today. And there were a couple phrases in here that reference some of the other books that I'm reading this year. And I thought that was interesting. But while I think it is fairly easy to read, there are some nuances to the story that you lose some context if you either don't understand it or you can't pick out the context of those sentences. So yeah. I can see how that's a thing. But okay, so besides all that, do you feel like you could follow the story like what was going on?
Yeah, I feel like I could understand at least the basics of what was happening in the scene.
Okay. Have you seen in the movies?
It's been years since I've seen. I know there's been a few adaptations, but it's been a while.
Yeah, was there a live action one with Johnny Depp?
Yeah.
There's the Disney one, I guess.
I don't think I've seen that one. Cartoon
versions, yeah. I don't think I've seen the cartoon ones. I might have watched the Johnny Depp one after reading this, but I finished this a couple months ago, to be honest with you, and I don't remember if I watched the movie afterwards. All right, on to the characters, and I thought there was a lot of characters in this book. Did you have a favorite character?
I'd probably say the Hatter, because I don't know, he was weird and just spouted out a bunch of nonsense, and I don't know, I thought it was just funny. He would just say random things, and he was, I don't know, stuck with me.
Okay, I agree with that. I thought he was great. I don't know if I had a favorite character. How about a least favorite character?
I don't know, maybe I'd say the Duchess. I don't know. I don't like reading with her in it, but I mean, also another good character, the caterpillar. I think it was a caterpillar on the mushroom.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Like he was smoking his. I don't think they called it a pipe.
Hookah.
Hookah. Yeah, that's what it was. I liked his part of the story because he was just kept asking why.
Yeah.
Just why?
Why? Yeah. Which makes sense if someone's just smoking some mind-altering substances. Yeah, I thought he was awesome. And I thought the Cheshire Cat, I thought it was super cool.
Yes.
I mean, both I think are pretty iconic characters, right? You think, I mean, they've been in different media, in songs and movies and print. I mean, even if people don't recognize that the Cheshire Cat is from Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, everyone's kind of seen that grin with no face, and they recognize what that is. Okay, I'm just gonna refer here to just a couple characters. The White Rabbit, the Mouse, the Dodo, and that was supposedly Carroll himself. Alice Liddell, the little girl. Lori was Lorena Liddell, and the Eaglet, Edith Liddell. And there are a ton of other characters. I mean, just replete full of classic characters that we all somewhat recognize. And there has been speculation through the years about who those characters represent in real life. And for the most part, Carroll denied all of those. All of those allusions were true. On to the plot of the story. I'm going to keep this as brief as we can. Alice is on the bank of the river with her sister, and she's bored until she sees a white rabbit running by who says he's late, and he's wearing a waistcoat and has a pocket watch. She follows the rabbit and goes down the rabbit hole, and things are about to get weird. She gently falls until she finds herself into a room with a bunch of doors and a table and a key. One of those doors leads to a beautiful garden, and it unlocks with the key that's in the room. However, she can't fit through the door that leads to the garden because she's too big. She finds a jar labeled "Drink Me." So what does she do? She drinks it, and she shrinks down where she can fit through that door. But unfortunately, she left the key up on top of the glass table, and she can't reach it because now she's too small. So then she finds a cake, which of course she eats, which makes her grow to such a size that she scares the white rabbit, who drops a fan. So then she starts fanning herself, and she shrinks down to such a size that she's drowning in her own tears that were falling while she was big and large. In this pool that she's swimming in of her own tears are a bunch of animals and birds, which she scares off talking about her cat. Alice finds another bottle, which of course she drinks out as well. And then she grows to such a size that for some reason, or maybe no reason at all, the white rabbit and some other guys throw some pebbles at her, which turn into cakes, which of course she eats, and then she shrinks to such a size that she's able to escape. So then Alice meets your favorite character, the famous hookah smoking caterpillar, who tells her that one side of the mushroom will make her grow larger, one will make her grow smaller. So she nibbles experimentally on the sides of the mushroom until her neck grows so long that she frightens a pigeon who thinks that she's a serpent. So then she shrinks herself again and finds herself at the home of the Duchess, where she meets the perpetually grinning Cheshire cat, and the Duchess's baby she takes, and he turns into a piglet. And honestly, that's all the plot we're going to talk about, and the book doesn't get any less weird it's just like that throughout the entire book. Okay, so a couple questions as we talk about our thoughts here. You've been to Disney.
Yes, it's been a while.
And you've done the Teacups.
Yes.
Mad Hatter's Wild Ride, I think it's really called. Everyone calls it the Teacups, but I think it's actually Mad Hatter's Wild Ride.
Oh.
Mad Hatter's Teacups? Or is there a different ride?
It's been years since I've been, so yeah. It's probably been changed a couple times.
Maybe there is a ride and then there's a Teacups. But regardless, I feel like riding those teacups is what reading this book is like.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I mean, you're constantly going around, you're changing. You see someone for a little while, you kind of recognize that person, and they're gone. And you might see them again later, you might not see them, it might be the only time you see them, and you know, your head is spinning by the time you get off the ride. And I felt like that's how it is when you read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Having said that, I honestly did enjoy the read. I enjoyed it more today than I did last time because I just blasted through it, and I thought that was a great way to read it, and overall I thought it was a really good book. What did you think?
I really enjoyed it, reading it all in one sitting yesterday. I was a little hesitant, because I don't read as much, but yeah. I actually enjoyed it.
Do you think it's a kid's book?
I mean,
little kids, 10-year-old.
As a 10-year-old, I think I would enjoy it, but I don't think I would understand a lot of the stuff that was going on.
Be like just surface level.
Yeah. So I feel like kids would enjoy it.
I think it'd be a tough read for most 10-year-olds, honestly.
I don't think I could read it at 10.
Yeah, they definitely have boulderized versions of the book. Think about like the Disney books where they're even more simple, and you don't get into these ideas in the book where you need to understand the context of either Lewis Carroll's day or just kind of more adult things to understand exactly what he's talking about. So I think certainly for younger kids, those simpler versions, but maybe once really early teenagers, 12 years old, maybe they can start getting into it, I think.
Yeah.
So did you recognize as you were reading this book that any characters from popular media that you've seen that maybe you knew it was from Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, or you didn't realize until you read this book?
Not really, I guess. I didn't really, pay attention to that sort of, they pulled it from the book.
You've seen The Matrix?
Yes, I have.
You see almost one of the opening scenes where Neo, he's not Neo at the time, he opens the door and he's told to follow the white rabbit.
Oh.
Yeah. The white rabbit. Follow the white rabbit.
Mind
that
blown
tattoo
right
on her shoulder was the white rabbit. Alice followed the white rabbit. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, see, now that I'm thinking of it, yes.
It's all these little sneaky references through the years, and some of them haven't been sneaky. We have songs called The White Rabbit. We have the rides at Disney, of course. We have the movies and the books, but there are other, you got the Cheshire Cat, the smoking caterpillar. You have these characters they've been put in the media sneakily. If you didn't know about the story, that white rabbit really wouldn't mean anything to you.
Yeah.
But once you do, you can experience movies like that. You can just kind of on a deeper level. One of my favorite books, The Wheel of Time. It's a series by Robert Jordan, and there is a scene in probably the middle of the series where one of the characters there's bubbles of evil that kind of pop up from the miasma of evilness, and these cause kind of weird things to happen. And one of the characters was a gambler, and so they was playing with a deck of cards with some other guys. And while they're doing that, one of the bubbles of evil come up, and it turns these playing cards into basically real life characters that are trying to kill them. So whether that was a nod towards Alice Adventures in Wonderland or not, I'm not sure, but I did think of that as I was reading this book as well. So again, while on the surface maybe it's a pretty simple book and you could read it that way, and honestly, I mostly just read it as the story. I didn't try and take it down to the next level. They talk about Lewis Carroll being a mathematician, and there are a lot of mathematics in the book. Did you pick up on any mathematics in the book?
I do remember at like one point she was trying to do multiplication.
That's true.
And it was all wrong. Like I was
Yes.
she was doing it, and I was like, wait, it's not the right answer. But it was like she was thinking, like, because she was changing so much, she's like, that's why I can't get any of this right or remember the actual answer or anything.
And I think, okay, I totally forgot about that because I was going to say I didn't pick up on any mathematics in the book, but that's a very obvious one, yeah. And also, in the same way as she's doing math wrong, she's doing all these poems, and she's referencing poems that I don't know, or songs of the day. These might have been things that kids learned to learn how to speak, and so they were like small rhymes and things like that.
Yeah.
And I wasn't aware that she was doing them wrong or right because I didn't know the original versions. All the characters in the book said, no, you're doing those wrong. And like you said, she's been changing, and so maybe that's why. But yeah, I didn't pick up on any mathematics at all. And like I said, this, like a lot of the classics, there's a lot to unpack in this book for such a short book. And you know, the politics of the day and things like that, I just didn't get into any of that. I just read it to enjoy it. Okay, so overall, you enjoyed the book.
Yes.
Okay, so more thoughts on the plot of the book or the book overall?
Like during like the caterpillar scene and also like the bird when she's eating the mushrooms or anything like drinking or eating anything, she's going from one size to the next. And as time goes on, people are asking, who are you? And she's like, I don't know. I keep changing from size to size. So like as the time goes on, she is like, I don't know if I'm Alice anymore. And when she gets to the caterpillar, he's just kept asking like questions like why or all this stuff. And then he just leaves and is like, just eat one of the mushrooms. Each side will either grow or shrink. And when she gets to the bird, with her neck all long, they're talking about like, you're a serpent, you're a snake. And she's like, no, I'm not. And she's like, what are you? She's like, I'm a little girl. But she mentioned eating eggs. Serpents eat eggs. Little girls eat eggs.
Yep.
And so the bird was like, okay, so then what's the difference between a serpent and a little girl? To me, that sounds like the same thing. And Alice was like, oh,
I guess you're right.
maybe I am. So, I mean, that part stuck with me. Just like, I don't know, with her changing and her not knowing if she was the same person.
Yeah, I think there's like different levels to the book. I think you can just read it and enjoy it, or you can, if you read it perhaps more slowly or with more understanding, you can look at things like that. And I think when you read it quickly, you kind of see that stuff. Whereas if you read it more slowly, maybe you forget about the previous changes and the things that are said. Okay, I like that. Yeah, definitely it's a book about change, you know, that's one of the things. And yeah. Okay. I marked up one of these passages here, and a mock turtle story. All right, so when Alice gets to the Queen's to play croquet, one of the things she meets the Duchess there, your least favorite character.
Yeah.
And she's talking to the Duchess, and the Duchess says, "Tut tut, child," said the Duchess. "Everything's got a moral, if only you can find it." And I thought that was really apropos for this book. Every little thing in this book has a moral to it, or is trying to tell you something, if only you can get to that level and figure out what it is. Or you can just read it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Which sometimes is the right way to do it. Are you ever going to read this book again?
Maybe in the future, but not anytime soon.
Are you interested in reading Through the Looking Glass. That's the sequel.
I mean, maybe if I find some time, I feel like I'd like to know what else happens in the story. I don't think it'd be a bad read.
As short as this sequel is, I'm not going to read it this year. I'm on a timeline here. So, but the great thing about reading 52 books in 52 weeks is being able to recognize and find books that I want to read or authors I want to come back to in the future. And I enjoy this enough. It'd be nice to be able to deep dive it a little bit and get deeper into the story.
Yeah.
Deeper into the rabbit hole. Yeah. But not too deep down the rabbit hole. Yeah. Okay, well, do you want to do the star rating?
Sure.
Did you get a star rating for it?
What was it out of 5? Out of 5?
Yes.
5 stars? Yeah.
Out of 5.
I would give it like a 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5?
4 out of 5.
That's pretty good.
4 out of 5. I enjoyed it. I wasn't bored during the whole thing, so.
You can't be bored.
No. See, yeah, that's a good thing. If you're not bored during a book, then yeah, 4 out of 5.
You might not like it, but you're never gonna be bored reading this book. Yeah. Okay, on to my star rating, and I judge all my books on 5 criteria, 6 if I listen to an Audible, and I did listen to this one Audible. So initial response, how do I feel as soon as I finished the book? It got a 4. Felt pretty good, beat up a little bit. Recommendation, how likely am I to recommend the book? Also a 4. Just about anyone could read this book or read it to someone, and I can imagine that being a fun time. Style, did I enjoy the writing style? Also got a 4. I did like how the book was written, the play on words, etc. Plot structure, how engaged was I in the story? I only gave it a 3 because I don't really think there was a plot. Characters, were they relatable, believable, engaging? I gave it a 4, not because they were relatable, believable, or engaging. Well, they were engaging, but it's just an iconic cast of characters. So it got a 4. Audible. On the books I listened on Audible, how was the presentation? And I got a 4 as well. I thought Scarlett Johansson did a decent job. I like it when her voice breaks. All right, so that's 23. And 23 divided by 6 is 3.83 stars for Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. I think that might be a little low, but it's what it is. So, all right, thanks for being with me.
Thanks for having me.
I'm glad we could kind of make this work out today. I jumped over here to see you. And, okay, so let's do this again next year.
Yes.
You can pick a book, I'll read a manga or whatever you want. You pick a book, I'll read it, and we'll do a review on it. How's that?
Make sure to pick a good one.
Okay, well, yeah. I'd appreciate that. Okay, again, thanks. And thank you for watching the video, for making it this far if you did. If you enjoyed the video, like it, it's free. Subscribe to see more of my content. Again, I'm reading 52 books in 52 weeks, and the links to those are in the description below. Subscribe to see more of my content. I hope you're reading something great. Turn the pages, my friends. Turn the pages, my friends. Turn the pages, my friend. I saw it, you can see it. No, perfect. All right.
Yeah, the quality is good. Looking at that up close.
Yeah. Okay.